Sometimes we hear a story so many times that we forget to feel its wonder. We nod along, knowing the ending. But the initial spark, the gasp of surprise, can feel distant. I recently came across a video that retold ancient stories of miracles, and it inspired me. It made me want to take those powerful moments and rebuild them, word by word, not just as historical accounts, but as vivid scenes filled with human emotion. The goal was to peel back the layers of familiarity and find the raw, breathtaking heart of each event, to make it feel as if we were standing right there on the dusty roads of Galilee, witnessing the impossible unfold before our very eyes and feeling the hope that bloomed in its wake. The challenge, as I saw it, was to use simple words to paint grand pictures. How do you describe a man walking on stormy seas without it sounding like a mere fantasy tale? The key, I believed, was to ground it in the feelings of the people who were there. Then, and only then, can the arrival of Jesus, walking calmly upon the churning water, truly land with the divine authority it possessed. My approach was to think like a filmmaker, framing each miracle as its own short, powerful scene. I wanted to hear the murmurs of the crowd, to smell the dust in the air, and to see the look of astonishment on a person's face as they experienced something that defied all logic. These were not just displays of power. Each one was an intimate act of love and a profound lesson, showing how an encounter with Jesus transformed not just the situation, but the hearts of everyone who watched, leaving them forever changed by what they had seen and felt. Our journey begins at a wedding in Cana, a place buzzing with laughter and music. Imagine the panic of the host, the shame creeping in as the wine runs dry. The celebration is on the verge of collapsing into an embarrassing silence. Into this small human crisis, Jesus steps not with a thunderous announcement but with quiet instruction. He tells the servants to fill 6 large stone jars with water, a simple, ordinary task. But what happens next is anything but ordinary. With a gesture, a prayer, a moment of divine intention, that water becomes the finest wine, far better than what they had served before. The party doesn't just continue, it becomes even more joyful, a testament to how faith can turn scarcity into abundance. From that joyful party, we move to a vast open hillside under the fading sun. A crowd of over 5,000 people had listened to Jesus speak all day, their hearts full but their stomachs empty. His disciples, ever practical, saw only the problem, a huge crowd and almost no food. All they could find were 5 small barley loaves and 2 little fish, barely a snack for one person. Yet, Jesus took this meager offering, looked up to heaven, and gave thanks. As he broke the bread and fish, a miracle of multiplication began. It wasn't a sudden explosion of food, but a quiet, unending supply passed from hand to hand until every single person had eaten their fill. The scene that follows this miracle is just as remarkable as the feeding itself. After everyone was satisfied, the disciples were instructed to gather the leftovers. They filled 12 baskets, one for each of them, with the broken pieces that remained. It showed them that when God provides, He provides with overwhelming generosity. There is not just enough, there is more than enough. These first 2 miracles, while different in scale, share a common beautiful thread. He turns the water of ordinary life into the wine of celebration and multiplies a boy's small lunch into a feast for thousands. Now, we find ourselves on the Sea of Galilee, in a small fishing boat tossed about by a sudden, violent storm. The wind howls like a hungry wolf, and the waves crash over the sides, filling the boat with cold, dark water. The disciples, seasoned fishermen among them, are gripped by pure terror. Yet, in the midst of this chaos, Jesus is asleep, peaceful. When they wake him in desperation, he doesn't panic. He simply stands, raises a hand. Be still. Instantly, the wind dies and the sea becomes as smooth as glass, leaving his friends in stunned, reverent silence. In another astonishing display over the very same waters, the disciples are again in their boat, rowing hard against the wind late at night. They see a figure, ghost-like and eerie, walking toward them on the surface of the churning waves. Their hearts pound with superstitious dread.
Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid.
It is Jesus. walking on the water as if it were a stone path, showing there is no chaos he cannot overcome. In Jerusalem, he encounters a man who had been blind since the day he was born, living his entire life in a world of darkness. Jesus doesn't just say a word. He performs an earthy, humble act. He spits on the ground, makes mud, and gently anoints the man's eyes. He then gives a simple instruction: "Go wash in the pool of Siloam." The man obeys, and as he washes the mud away, his eyes open for the first time. He sees the vibrant colors of the market, the faces of strangers, the brilliant blue of the sky. His darkness is replaced with light, his lifelong condition healed in an instant. In another town, Jesus confronts a more hidden internal kind of suffering. He meets individuals tormented by unseen forces, their minds and spirits in turmoil. With a word of command, a voice filled with both compassion and absolute authority, he sets them free. The change is immediate and total. The wild, pained expressions on their faces soften into peace. These healings show that his power was not just for the outside world of wind and waves, but for the inside world of the human heart and mind, bringing light, peace, and wholeness where there had been only darkness and pain. Perhaps one of the most deeply personal and moving miracles is the story of Lazarus. Jesus receives word that his dear friend is gravely ill, yet he doesn't rush to his side. By the time he arrives in Bethany, Lazarus has been dead and buried for 4 long days. The air is thick with grief. Lazarus's sisters, Martha and Mary, are heartbroken, their hope extinguished. Standing before the cold, sealed tomb, even Jesus weeps, sharing in their sorrow. But then his grief gives way to divine power. He commands the stone to be rolled away.
And with a voice that echoes with life itself, he calls out, "Oh, Lazarus, come out!"
To the astonishment of all, the dead man walks out, alive and whole. This act of raising Lazarus from the dead was a powerful foreshadowing of what was to come. It was a declaration that death itself does not have the final word. However, the greatest miracle was not one Jesus performed for someone else, but one that happened to him. After being arrested, tried, and crucified, his body was laid in a tomb, and a heavy stone was rolled across the entrance. His followers were scattered, their hopes shattered. Their world plunged into the deepest sorrow and despair. All seemed lost. The light they had followed for 3 years had been extinguished, and darkness had, for a moment, appeared to win the ultimate victory. But on the 3rd day, as the sun rose, a few women went to the tomb to anoint his body, their hearts heavy with grief. They found the stone rolled away and the tomb empty.
"He is not here, he has risen just as he said."
Soon after, Jesus himself began to appear to his disciples. He wasn't a ghost or a fleeting spirit. He was real. He invited them to touch the wounds in his hands and his side. He ate with them, talked with them, and comforted them. The resurrection was not just a return to life. It was a transformation, proving that love is infinitely stronger than hate, and life is eternally more powerful than death. These 10 miracles, from the simple joy of wine at a wedding to the profound victory of the empty tomb, are more than just amazing stories from the past. They are threads of a single, powerful message of hope, inviting us to believe that no matter how dark the night may seem, a new morning is always possible. This is the enduring promise, rebuilt from scratch for every generation to discover anew.